This program is brought to you in part by SalCal Real Estate Connections.
And yes, welcome to the Vintage 40 event here up at Lime Rock Park. And those Corvette flags gives you a hint of what the show is going to be about. And of course, there's going to be many other things. And believe me, you're in for a treat today. And yes, the original Trans Am cars would be on hand to celebrate, and believe me, they will be out in full force. As you can see, these cars are just gorgeous. I mean, when you think about the original Trans Am starting in the mid to late 60s, and boy, just look at them. They're certainly a sight that I know myself as a kid growing up. Sitting up on that hill and watching these cars was special, I'll tell you. You are in for a treat today as we're going to cover some of their events too. And yes, as they went out for practice, you could tell that it's going to be a good day when these cars went out for the real race. Just look at them. Every one of them looks better than a new car. I'll tell you, just what a sight to see these old Trans Am cars. The history they have is so special. You know, the start of the Pony Wars, I want to call it. Believe me, in the day, they were king. Absolutely wonderful thing. This GTO that went off track, and I believe that's a very famous car too. Yeah, they're ready to race, that's for sure. Yes, there was a car stalled out in the racetrack. We'll have to bring this kind of to a little quiet down a little bit so we can get that car removed off the track. And believe me, it won't take the Lime Rock crew to get this straightened out. As you could see, they're getting ready right now to get it hooked up so they can get it out of the way. But hey, you know, that's part of the game. You have to, these cars are not perfect, and sometimes, things happen you can't control. Well, let me tell you, it didn't take the Lime Rock track people long to get the thing moving, as they want to keep the program going. Not take long to get the track cleared, and as usual they got the program going, and boy, let me tell you, it takes long for these damn cars to get that. Now look at that boss trail, gorgeous car, and believe me, these cars are right at home at this Lime Rock track. Let's see. have had something to do with A.J. Floyd in the day. Yeah, you'll see it all here at Lion Rock, that's for sure. And yes, here comes a nice Camaro. Our Trans Am. Yeah, perfect. There's a really good mix here of Camaros. Yeah. 489 GTO also is back in action and just continues. It's beautiful. Winding down practice, we got glimpses of the number 77 Sam Posey car he races in Trans Am Series. Very special. Came here originally to see the Corvette collection. As you can see now, they're unloading some of the cars and we're getting ready to show you some of these absolutely wonderful Corvette cars that came to this event. They were shown in the beautiful tents, and I'll tell you, it was just an outstanding day here. And yeah, these cars, these concept cars that came to this event are very special, as you will see coming up. We're going to show you each one separately, and boy, let me tell you, you are in for a treat today. Yes, they're unloading another car, this 1950s concept car. Boy, let me tell you, this thing looks like it's ready to take off. Look at the styling of this car, just gorgeous. You can't get old. When you look at these cars, you see a lot of the future in some of them. Car here has got to be, I want to say, like mid to late 50s. Boy, I would love to park it right in my garage. I'm not going to kid you about that. Yeah, we're reading this little sign here on this beautiful car. Zorro Arcus Dunthoff. Yep, I call him the father of the Corvette. And boy, let me tell you, when it came to getting this car ready for racing throughout the years, he just was the man to see. And you could tell by the looks of this car how special it is. Thank you for all the great things he has done. And yes, looking at the inside of this car, the interior was all business. And boy, let me tell you, I wish I could have the chance to sit behind the wheel of this car. It looks like a rocket ship getting ready to take off. Just a beautiful car. Absolutely beautiful. Yes, we never get tired of showing you beautiful pictures of cars like this, different angles, and wow, I'll tell you, there isn't a piece in this car that I don't believe is beautiful. I just can't get over in the time frame this car was built. Of course, it was a concept car, and some of the things would carry over into the new models, and some of the things would be go on to the race. Boy, let me tell you, they did their homework. As you can see, the car is just special. I'm moving to the next car. This number 3 Corvette was a 1960 Cunningham Special, and it was a winner in its class in Le Mans and came in 8th overall. Very special car for the time frame. And boy, let me tell you, it is pretty. Another special car we would come across is this 1963 Corvette Z06, which they're very, very rare. It was the Gulf 1 racer, and believe me, you will not find many of these cars. I think they only made a total production amount of about 60 of these cars. And this is just a great example as what they had in the day, and they were built specifically for road racing, as they had an extra large fuel tank. I believe it was a 36-gallon tank, and boy, let me tell you, the history with these cars is special. Another famous car was this Penske Corvette, which, believe me, was an absolutely gorgeous car. His colors, you could tell, dark blue, yellow, and the styling of this car, I tell you, every one of them, these cars I look at, they're very special. And you have to remember, in this time frame, I believe this car was one of the early big block cars, which was become very influential in racing throughout the history. Beautiful car. This very special car, which was actually developed by Arcus Duntoff and some other people during a time when Chevrolet had put a ban on racing. And as you could see, it is very special in terms of it had a mid-engine, was very aerodynamic, and in actuality was a car that would be like getting ready to run the Can-Am series, which would develop in time. And boy, it was way ahead of its time, as you could see, and beautiful. I tell you, I have to thank General Motors and Chevrolet for all they've done for racing, without a doubt. And this car is a perfect example. Look at this. And yes, this very special car gives you an idea of what the Chevrolet Engineering Research Vehicle team is building. And boy, talk about, this thing almost looks like an Indy car. Had a very special engine, and I can't believe this car was actually developed in 1959. And boy, let me tell you, it's hard to believe. This thing looks like you could go to an Indy race today and compete. Very special motor. I believe it had an aluminum V8 back then, which was very rare for Chevrolet. Boy, let me tell you, it is gorgeous. How did these engineers really get the game? They were right on their game. Beautiful car. What you're looking at here is the actual future of the Indy cars, which would develop a few years later. And boy, let me tell you, they were way ahead of the game. And these Chevrolet engineers really had their stuff together. This car is special, let me tell you. Beautiful. The Stingray concept cars just keep coming in. This beautiful number 11, I want to tell you, these cars are so special and really have a great place in the history when it comes to Corvettes, as they set the pace for what you're going to see in the future. And boy, let me tell you, I would love to park this car right in my garage. It is just absolutely gorgeous. Look at the windows on the side, and very special. Yes, Mako Shark. This famous car, which was actually a 1965 version of the Mako Shark, which really, the very first one was in 1961. But this 1965 version gives you a hint of what was to come in the future. With its, look at this paint job. I mean, just reminiscent of a Mako Shark, and got some features on it and an engine that you will see in the future. And boy, let me tell you, it's very famous as far as concept cars are concerned, and paved the way for the Corvettes to come in the future without a doubt. In reality, the Mako Shark would pave the way for another future car, concept car, called the Manta Ray. And boy, let me tell you, these cars, and look at this car, I mean, just gorgeous. When you think back, 1965, that gives you an idea of what the motor was in this car. But boy, let me tell you, it is absolutely gorgeous, and I have to commend, Chevrolet engineering research. They certainly did their job. And yes, in 1986, this Corvette Indy, as it was called, and you knew it was coming sooner or later, somebody would start talking about a mid-engine Corvette, and this is a great example of it. Believe me, talk about a special car. I mean, just look at it. Look at the styling of this car. And it has a very interesting motor in it, mid-engine. Yep, that's where it started. And boy, let me tell you, they were right on their game. And yes, the car was unveiled at the 1986 Detroit Auto Show. And of course, the engine in this car is very special. It was just 2.6 liters in displacement, but it had a horsepower rating of about 600 horsepower. Talk about something special, let me tell you. And it also had all-wheel drive and four-wheel steering and suspension with just a revolutionary new rear view camera and a screen mounted in the dash. Very special. Yes, you got that right. Yes, the early Corvettes, like this 61 car that raced on the West Coast, has become very popular and very sought after, as they have such a special place in history when it comes to racing these cars that they're getting harder and harder to come by. This is a perfect example of a car like in the late, I want to say in the 60s, which raced. And the history of this car is definitely from the West Coast. But boy, let me tell you, it is a looker, without a doubt. I would just love to find myself behind the wheel of this car and have some fun with it, because believe me, it is very special. The interior in this car was all business. Tachometer, gauges, had a beautiful roll bar, just gorgeous. Of course, roll bar restrictions back then were a lot different than what would happen today, but boy, let me tell you, this car is just time correct. Another attraction that was at the event was this cuttered away version of a new Z06. And boy, let me tell you, when you get a good look at what it takes to build one of these cars, now you know why they cost what they cost. And believe me, this Z06 is just chock full of engineering research. And I have to say, I'm gonna have to take a good look at one in the future, but I believe that these cars are going to become one of the most sought after cars that Corvettes have ever offered. They are very special. Z06, which started way back in 1963 or so. Very special indeed. I hope everybody's enjoyed the show, as we certainly did. Please return next week to Racing Action Today. Yes, we want to thank Ace Cameraman Bill Majak for all his wonderful footage and coverage of the event. Absolutely wonderful job. This program is brought to you in part by R2 Pictures and real estate broker Larry Mangello. And yes, we also want to thank Flavor Queen for all their help and support, and look to do a little more things with them in the future. Thank you. Have a great weekend. I want to thank everybody for watching tonight, and please let us know what you think of the show and what you would like to see in the future. And boy, let me tell you, these events up at Lime Rock are very special, and I hope everybody remembers next Labor Day weekend to get up there and see what it's all about. Believe me, you will not be disappointed. Thank you, and return next week to Racing Action Today.